On 3, 2, 1.
How it goes. It gets lonely in this bed alone. Pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up. Pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up. Baby, you know how it goes. It gets lonely in your bed alone. Pull up, pull up.
Welcome back, Powerheads. Here we are with Ghost Book 2, Episode 7, Sex Week. So that's filled with a lot of different possibilities. So maybe we should just get into them. But before we even get to campus, your boy Kane is wilding out. I mean, I thought he had taken like his Satan game to the next level, but now he's robbing a church. E, what's up with that?
Yeah, what a way to start the episode. I was not expecting to see Kane busting into the church, robbing the church, but I guess he realizes that right now he's on the outs with his entire family, and so he's got to make money somehow. And unfortunately, he chose to rob a church. It was a bad look, and as we see later on in the show, it's gonna come back to bite him a little bit.
But who does he pick as his running mates?
Jesus Christ, the GTG.
Dang. The worst possible teammate you could possibly have.
With tattoos of that on their hands.
Making it
world's
so
worst criminals.
But they posted it on the gram though.
Oh, for sure.
Yep. So moving forward from there, we shot to that scene on the couch with Drew and Diana hashing it through. Man, at this point in time in the episode, I'm about to call your boy Drew current because he's sitting there with his espresso, his little piggy out. And he's always smirking, so straight Kermit action going on there. That whole attitude, that whole scene is permeating the rest of the episode. So then Monet rolls in and she's like, it's time for the drop. But we seem to be missing somebody, don't we?
I mean, we already know we're missing Kane. And I think what we're seeing as if it wasn't obvious to begin with, I think we're seeing that more and more Drew wants nothing to do with this. He's just doing it because he's scared of his mom and what her opinion on the entire topic is. So, I mean, Drew wants nothing to do with it. He's always going to come up missing, during times of need. She wanted him there, with the knowledge of Kane not being there. And lo and behold, we know that he wasn't there.
So now, like, she's not showing it, but her facade is cracking a little bit. She's panicking a little bit. So she puts a call into Zoe. Lorenzo up in the pen. So when Monet ended up calling Zoe at the prison to figure out what really went down, was he straight up all the way?
Oh, absolutely not. He didn't want to tell her what he did in order to try to gain compliance. He knows that that's still, no matter what happened, that's still her baby. He knew she would not approve of the measures in which he went to get Kane back in line.
Yeah, but they went overboard. Both of them.
I disagree. Sometimes you gotta, if somebody's wilding out, you have to take extra measures.
I think the biggest thing with that whole scene was that we understand that, Tejada has a ton of pull in that prison. There's ways that he has to be able to keep that pull. And kind of like I spoke about last week, that beatdown was a way of the guards being able to blow off some steam, him be able to kind of keep some of that pull. He's saying, hey, I'm going to let you do this. I'm going to let you beat him up. Not too bad, but enough. And that's kind of his way of keeping control over them and not having to do it himself, as well.
Plus, he sends a message that nobody is above the law or whatever law he establishes.
In that jail cell, Tejada's above the law. He's got a cell phone that he freely talks on. He's got, so.
He's acting like Pablo in the United States.
Uh-oh. Somebody's been in there watching the Pablo lately, haven't they?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess that's a good series too. But let's go back to Power. All right. So moving forward from there, Bash shows up. And I guess his only purpose, because normally when you sprinkle that dude in there, it's going to be causing some mayhem or something. He wanted to put his hand in the pot more last time and all that. But he just came to put pressure on Tariq to get these orders on the app fulfilled. Now, my question, when looking at the whole episode, looking at the previous episodes, is you noticed that when Monet had Drew and had Diana downstairs working on the drugs and everything. Drew was like, we're short. So I'm trying to think of where did that come from? And was it related to the heist by Trace of the supply?
I guarantee you it was facilitated by that heist from Braden's room, because all of a sudden Tariq and Braden have to re-up on product without any money. So when you start to add up the money and the product, you're short. So far, the only people we've seen, quote unquote, steal drugs is Trace.
Yeah, so he's definitely probably tied into him. Now we shoot forward to the canonical fellowship, and Professor V Watts is making her roles known, and she's telling everybody, okay, who's won the fellowship, and they read the list off, or rather Jabari reads it off, and Tariq is not on the list. What's going on with that?
I think a couple things are going on with that. One, I think that he legitimately missed it by a little bit. And two, I think that, Jabari thinking that Tariq and Professor Milgram have something going on, he was, very much so inclined to not be a part of, make Tariq a part of the fellowship.
You really think about it, though, Jabari is the one who stabbed him to start with, because remember, he gave him like almost a failing grade on that previous paper because he didn't speak his mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, from what we know, Jabari thinks that Tariq is sleeping with Professor Milgram. So that's what he thinks.
Tariq pops back up in the crib and he's ready to talk business with Braden. And he sees Riley and Braden in bed. And he called him two raw chicken cutlets.
2 raw chicken cutlets. Man, gotta be, that was hilarious. It's sex week. What do you expect?
Yeah, man. At least he was getting it in, right?
Apparently he's not been doing it so well thus far. And he's getting better some way, somehow. It was funny. So, I mean, I think that, as what we're going to see going forward, she's got to make an exit. She's toxic to the entire situation.
Oh, yeah. All around, man. Then, here we go. Thirsty Jabari. He's like offers to help her with the 48 Laws of Power, which is a new novel that they're going through. And they're trying to figure out, Professor Milburn has actually put in place a plan how to use the 48 Laws of Power. She gives them all a different secret card. And on the card, on the back, is their secret. And they're not supposed to share it with anybody. But if they use some of the 48 Laws of Power to figure out what's really going on there, then they get an A. Meanwhile, Jabari's not getting anywhere, so he tries to be Mr. Altruistic and help out. So he's got his hands on some cards now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. And, I knew right from that scene right there that things weren't going to go well. That was a setup for failure. She was really just trying to get him out of her office. Obviously, they have an extremely, and I hate to use this 2020 word, but an extremely toxic relationship, and they need not be around each other. But Jabari keeps wanting to come back.
So meanwhile, your boy is getting it in. Zeke's getting it in. So it's smash down for Zeke, and he loses interest in any other chicks. He doesn't even want to go to the Q party, which of course came about from Simon Stern back in the day. Mr. Freak himself. So everybody wants to go to the freak party, but he's like, nah, I don't want to. I got my woman right here. And then he wants to introduce...
By the way, let's make sure that we acknowledge that it was Simon Stern who started this particular party, not Omega Sci-Fi. It was just Simon Stern's Q party.
Yeah, maybe they bit off a mountain.
It's possible.
Yes, that's highly possible.
Sometimes when you're not first, you got to take everybody else's ideas. Things happen.
Wrapped off the table. But moving forward from there, we have the situation going on. Reek and Tasha, he's communicating with her on the phone. They're worried. Meanwhile, McLean and Sachs are plotting to go ahead and introduce a new witness. And they got to get one who, at least for now, is going to go ahead and make Tasha look guilty. And then they plan on flipping the script. So who did they come up with?
Paz. And that was a hell of a scene, because we already know that right now the relationship between, Sachs, Davis, McLean, it's kind of built on trust and a handshake, literally. That scene right there sent shivers, because I said, wow, well, what if now all of a sudden, Davis McClain doesn't want to work with him anymore, even though the primary goal is to get Tasha off. But you got the guy from the DNC riding Saxe. So Saxe has to at least pretend as though he's trying to really go after Paz to get information about Tasha. The best part about it was that he got some information, but it was so superficial that Davis McClain was able to kind of redirect on Cross. So,
but he wasn't expecting it though, and
he was not. He was not
right. But being the lawyer that he is, he was ready to deal with it, and he just broke down Paz's thing about how she's just been spent around in different directions by different people as far as who she thinks killed her sister.
Saxe didn't have an opportunity. You know, the guy from the DNC came up to him before they went into trial, and he said, "I'm going to sit here the entire time." Saxe didn't have an opportunity to warn him. He just had to roll with the punches, take it, and hope that they could have a conversation on the back end about it.
Well, they almost had a real conversation on the back end when Meth kicked in the door like, "I'll come to bring the pain."
Yeah, he kicked in the door like a thug.
I was like, we going back to the Wu days. So they ended up, sobbing or smoothing that over, but Saxe looked scared as hell, like he was about to jump out the window.
But like I said, I don't blame him. Right now, he's getting pressure from both sides. At the end of the day, the main issue he's dealing with is one that's going to really piss off the people who put him in place to do this, because they want Tasha. I don't know if they know about Tariq or if they even want Tariq, but I know they want Tasha, and that's their main goal right now.
I mean, last week they twisted us around a little bit and they made us think that Meth was bucking, but now they're back to, they're working together again. But I'm still thinking, and maybe you think the same, that he's going to go ahead and buck on Saxe a little bit later in the game to save Tariq. You still think he's swinging that?
They're already in a double cross right now, technically speaking. I can see Meth pulling a triple and trying to get both Tariq and Tasha off on the back end. McClain
Davis would no longer be one of my favorite characters at that point if he didn't. Your boy, loose cannon number 2, Trace is running around. He pops up in the room, and he actually has the nerve to be popping a little stuff. Tariq shut him down immediately.
But Tariq was able to gain some information from Trace that he's able to use later on. Sometimes you don't realize what you're saying. It's a statement. It's like dry snitching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trace didn't realize what he was saying. Tariq doesn't remember that night. He doesn't remember what happened, but Trace did. And Trace reminded him, and then he coupled that with when, she kind of confessed to him that, she was sorry about what happened, He didn't remember. He just let it go. But then Trace dry snitched. That's information that Tariq can use, down the line.
And now he's putting it together. He's like, yes. Wait a minute. I did get drugged. And
he knows he got drugged.
I was in a room with Riley. Yeah. So basically going on from there, man, your boy Jabari, he makes a little food drop, and he comes to find out that maybe somebody's in the crib. Maybe they're a student because they have a student folder. They got sex week condoms going on there. Then he goes back to the car. And literally, I found it amazing about how they actually let him pout and puff. When he was sitting there in the car, he was like, I was like, oh, damn, man, it's really going through it. But then he changed Tariq's car, didn't he?
He did. But you know what, though? I do appreciate it because throughout this show, the males have been shown to have the power and the strength and those dominant roles. And even in the beginning of this season, Power Book 2, it was almost as though, Jabari had control over Professor Milgram. And this was kind of that flop, that switch of power. And now she's in control of the situation because now he's mad. And because now he's mad because he realizes that she's finally gone, no matter who it was, he doesn't really care. But no matter who it was, he realizes that she's now gone and she's moved forward with her life. And that's why he was pouting in that car like a little child.
But he's exactly.
And that's the word we'll use for YouTube.
All right, so then it's Reek and Lauren time. I mean, what's going on? Reek and Lauren are sitting up there, and they're talking about, you should show him. She said she was the one that started. She said, you should show me your secret. And he's like, nah, you show me your secret. And then they end up playing around and look a little horseplayish, and in comes Malcolm, your favorite character.
First of all, I can't stand Malcolm. Second of all, that scene was hilarious because Tariq disrespected that man
Again.
And he tried to, and Malcolm tried to, tell Lauren that two grown men are talking right now. And that to me, I don't think he realized that, Tariq likes Lauren, regardless of whether he's willing to admit it or not. So the fact that you disrespected that woman in front of him, you are now going to garner more disrespect from Tariq.
And Lauren.
And Lauren. And, that's why he said, I'm not an N-word. We're educated black men. We shouldn't, have to use that word. And Tariq says, all right, Lauren, I'll catch you later. And then called Malcolm that again on the way out, as if you're not going to do anything about it.
What you going to do?
What are you going to do about it? And he's not going to do anything.
No, he's not.
He's not.
But he busted in the room taking pictures like with paparazzi. I mean, what's up with that?
Yeah, I don't. First of all, I don't get it. That was one of the softest moves I've seen on Power.
Oh my God! One
of the softest moves.
I thought he grew a uterus right there on the scene.
Thought he did too. Because I'm gonna let you know something right now. I walk in on that situation. It's not gonna end like it did. You're not just walking past me. You're not just walking past me like things sweet. Look, don't let the double-breasted suit fool you.
Don't make me break out an ascot.
Thank you.
Followed by an ass whoop. All right.
Thank you.
Now what's going on is they're still missing Kane. Diana, she goes on a mission. She finds Kane. She definitely gives hell to his girlfriend or whatever you want to call it. And she convinces him to come back to the game. But then he gets picked up because of the whole GTG tattoo. But here's the deal. Does Kane have a GTG tattoo on his hand? And so how did he end up getting picked up?
Because they know who he is.
No, but why are they associating him with this crime? Because GTG snitched.
Could be. I also think Officer Ramirez, I believe he's in on this. He's trying, right now, Officer Ramirez is trying to do everything he can do to kind of get Kane under control. There's no way. I mean, I don't see GTG snitching per se. I can see there being a robbery going down in a certain neighborhood and Officer Ramirez being like, you know what, just go pick up Kane because it's going to add to my, thing. Because guess what? Nobody else picked up the phone. Who came and got him out of jail? Officer Ramirez. Who's been trying to get him under control for, the past few episodes? Officer Ramirez.
But Ramirez is using up all his cards because people got to be looking at him funny at the precinct, man.
I think at the end of the day, they look at it like they don't have any real hard evidence. What, you got the evidence of somebody who was part of the robbery and that's their word, that's the best you can do? He's going to walk on that all day long.
Yeah. So he goes ahead and he tries to get in Ramirez's head and try to say, we're teammates now because they're pushing both of us out because they're going with the Stansfield route, which, she's expanding. If you ask me, she's not focusing on one or the other. She's just expanding and things are on and popping with Tariq's other deal.
Well, I would say this, though. I would say this, Greg. I would say this. She's expanding, but at the same time, Tariq's business is taking up the majority of the product. So although she expanded her business into Stansfield, she also then, due to Tariq's business, had to lower her output towards her other avenues. So
the Ramirez.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so
true.
She's expanding, but she's also, the overall business is getting bigger, but the business to the Ramirez is decreasing, but Tariq's business is exponentially increasing.
All right, so now we got a situation where Kane he's just got popped free by Ramirez. Monet has to handle things on her own. Now, she has Diana, and she refuses to let Diana come upstairs, man, because she cares about her baby girl. But at the same time, DC Joe pops up, and he sees Kane is not there. And what seems to be a prevalent theme is that these dudes in this, they will test a female. They will test a female. They don't just say, okay, you're part of the family and all that. Lorenzo's in jail, Kane's not around. Okay, you're gonna do this our way or no way, or we're gonna switch it up on you. So he rushes her. That was a real interesting scene. And meanwhile, guess who's kissing in the basement? It popped up. Young Reek.
Yep.
Right on time though, right?
Right on time. No, I mean, I'm glad Tariq was there. He was able to kind of cause a distraction for a split second. And Monet pulled the Glock out, put two in his chest.
No, she got him in the liver. She got one shot in the liver, which I thought
torso
was
area. Yeah,
I thought was awesome because, man, first of all, you know about those liver kicks, so you know that's just a kick. But then having a bullet in that area, that's immediately going to cause you to lose consciousness, man.
He dropped immediately. Yeah,
and you're going to bleed out.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the only unrealistic thing is that nobody's walking around with that much in drugs and then afterwards cash and going to do it with a box cutter.
Exactly. But look, it wasn't even his box cutter. He picked it up off the counter.
Thank you. You know, where was his gun? So, I mean, that was a little made for TV in my opinion, but made for a good story because what it showed is that it showed at the end of the day, it showed that Monet can handle herself.
Oh, yeah.
It shows she can handle herself because nobody has to know the whole story. All they're going to know is that Monet put 2 in DC Joe and now he's dead because he tried Monet. And that's what the story's going to be. And that might earn her some credit with these guys.
Now, but it's time to clean up. And Kane's not around yet. So who's stepping up?
Tariq stepped up.
There you go.
Immediately, Tariq stepped up.
And this, the funny part about that is it gets me to my second Kermit moment for Drew. So they go to the car and he really doesn't know who he's dealing with Tariq. And nobody ever does because he's already popped 2 people in this series, okay? So he's like, prop him up. He's like, why I gotta prop him up? And he's like, you ever shot anybody? Then when he's propping up the body, your boy is doing his little sip of the tea, his little Kermit sip of the tea and smirking and rolling his eyes at Tariq's reactions and stuff. So, but I thought it was real like poignant when he looked at that big blood stain on his shirt. One was that, he's probably thinking back to, what he did to his father. And then if you go back to the very first episode of Power, remember the blood that was on Ghost's shirt was a big issue. Now, that's another plot hole, though. The first thing he's supposed to do is what? He's supposed to get rid of that bloody shirt.
But you know what, though? I'll say this. Once again, certain things have to be made for TV. That leads to one of my favorite scenes of the entire show. And it was when Lauren showed up to his dorm and was like, I want to go to the Q party with you. The reason why I say it's one of my favorite parts of this particular episode is because I know just how conflicted Tariq, had to have been in that situation. 1, he wants to get it on and pop him with Lauren. 2, he can't because he can't unzip that jacket. And because he can't unzip that jacket, he has to resort to the only other defense he has. Oh, what, you just gonna break up with your boyfriend today and think that I'm gonna be right here just waiting for you? Like, and it sucks because I think he does like Lauren.
Oh, he definitely
I think Lauren, he sees Lauren as his escape from this life at some point. He sees Lauren as the good that he isn't. And
or that he could be a part of a family.
Exactly, yeah, or that he could be a part of down the line. And so I think that was a tough situation for him where he's like, I cannot unzip this jacket right now because I cannot explain this.
Well, what happened to this? Hold on 1 second. I just came from the gym. I'm gonna jump in the shower real quick.
Yeah, I mean, no. I completely agree with you. There are plenty of ways I feel like he could have got out of that situation. I just think it was he was thinking fast, and you got me. I mean, at the end of the day, he was probably still nervous from the murder, from the situation. He did what was quickest to get her out of the room, so he could then deal with the shirt situation, which he should have dealt with already.
Okay,
should have never made it home.
So now that we're doing plot holes, that's plot hole number 2. So plot hole number 3. All right. Tariq ends up following Riley once he sees her on the street, and he traces her to court where she's up for 2 ounces of weed. And who comes in to save the day?
Good old Cooper Sacks.
Now, that to me is a huge plot hole because this dude is the state's attorney.
What that leads to, though, is Tariq can't tell Braden the entire story. So what Tariq says is she tried to get at me that night. I had to fight her off because he knew that Trace unknowingly would corroborate his story.
So he definitely threw that out there.
He knew he was drugged.
Now, imagine though if he had actually told. Well, at this point in time, he seems to have things coming back on him because of his trust in Brady to a certain extent. So I can understand how he wants to curtail that and kind of control that more. But meanwhile, I mean, as a state's attorney, you don't roll up in there and like, I'm defending my niece or I'm having somebody else defend my niece who's busted on a big drug charge. And I don't mean like necessarily our drugs, but the point is, you don't do that as a state's attorney.
I think Sachs had to do that due to the fact that although he didn't explicitly tell her to do all the stuff that she did, he also knows he's on the hook for all the stuff that she did if it comes out.
Now, here we go with Jabari again. His writer's block is unbelievable. And he must be a hack because of what happened the first time. And he's relying on a student to write his novel. So he comes in and says, you could get extra credit and be involved with the fellowship if you get turned in a paper to me proving, how power works in relationships and provide me details. And of course, he's trying to pump him for VWAT, trying to figure out what's going on with that. But at the same time, he's going to use that and then claim, well, I wasn't writing about you. I never do this from you when it comes to VWATs.
That's a man who's finally hurt. He's been stringing this woman along for a long time and finally realizing that she's done with him. And so he's trying to do whatever he can do to strike back. So it's not excusable by any stretch of the imagination, but someone who's as desperate as he is for attention right now, I can definitely understand it.
When the coming attractions were played at the end concerning next week, Tariq is worried because somebody's trying to kill him. You think that's Kane? Yeah,
I think it's Kane. I mean, to me, that's the only person who has a reason to kill him at this moment in time.
But see, that's why it's so obvious. So I think they're going to throw a little plot twist on this.
I don't know. They haven't really done much with the plot twist this season just yet. I mean, maybe this could be one of the first, but they haven't really done much with the with the plot twist. So I don't know. I mean, who else could you see having a reason right now to kill Tariq?
I got to think about it. Effie, I'm sorry.
Effie, the only other person that has a beef with Tariq right now is Malcolm, and we know Malcolm's not built like that. So there's only two people that have a beef with Tariq right now, and that's Malcolm and that's Kane. Maybe Officer Ramirez trying to, so maybe, but as a police officer, I still think that's risky.
Right. I don't
Especially
know, man.
when he knows they're in bed with Braden and Trace, which means Tariq's extremely close with them. To me, it's too much exposure. Knowing who that family is.
He also probably is confirming from what he's hearing that what Kane is telling him is true, that they're getting pushed out. And then I really think Ramirez got some bodies on him, man.
For sure.
I
think so too.
Well, thanks for tuning in for another great episode of the Power Watch. For myself, E. Dot, and B. Limits. We'll see you next week.
Good evening, Powerheads. I hope you had a wonderful time. Quite exciting, quite interesting episode. So today we're going to do a wonderful thing tonight. We're going to call this drink the Pink Bonnet after our actress Riley. And so this is going to be made with a very special tequila. It's called Cincoro, which is a tequila that's being marketed by Michael Jordan. For this particular drink, we're going to be using about 2 ounces of this tequila. So it's going to be nice and strong for everybody here, because after that episode, I think I need an extra ounce of tequila. And for this drink, you're going to require also some triple sec. Triple sec will add that nice and fruity flavor to this drink. And that's only going to be about half an ounce of that, because you don't want to take away from the tequila flavor. Now, one thing that I always do with drinks, I tend not to use white sugar. I use a lot of honey in my drink, and it gives it a nice sweet flavor, but not too sweet. You don't want to make these drinks too sweet. So just a little bit of honey. And of course, you want to use a little bit of lemon juice, and lemon juice will add that citrusy flavor to the drink. And there you go. Then you want to add a few cubes of ice and shake it real good so that you can mix all of those flavors. As you can see, this is a totally different tumbler that I'm using. It's one that is made in Tennessee. One of the things that I actually did was I was freezing my martini glasses this presentation. And here you go, nice and cold. And so since my fiance is in DC and I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, I'm going to make a drink just for me. And as you can see, it's nice with just the right amount. And of course, don't forget your garnish on top. Salud.
Hey, Powerheads, we're back with my favorite segment, the question and answer segment. So first up, we have Professor Jenkins. Professor Jenkins says,
Well, well, well. The writers really did it this week. The professor crossed the line with her student. As a professor myself, this made me very uncomfortable. I saw something brewing, but I didn't know when or how it was all going to blow up. I'm curious how others view this dynamic with the professor and her student. Where is this going?
well, Professor Jenkins, knowing the climate that we operate in nowadays, I can see why you might feel a little uncomfortable because that's a sticky situation. Anytime you have a teacher in any sort of arena and they get involved with the student, that means they're taking advantage of their power in a lot of different ways, or at least that's the way it's going to be looked at. So I can see why that made you feel uncomfortable. That would make a lot of people feel uncomfortable. People's parents feel uncomfortable, you know, and all that. It happens in real life, but you know, it hits the tabloids and the headlines, and that's something that's like, man, you gotta stay away from that joint. And then you see, talk about introducing her to Auntie Monet, and we all know that's gonna be a bad move, because if he really likes Professor VWAD, Professor Milborn, that's the end of it, it's a wrap. So we don't wanna do that. She's an interesting character, her and Jabari out of control, but we're gonna see where it goes from here. And I know somebody's gonna catch an L pretty soon because it's been a minute, but I'm not sure we want that to be her, especially Eric. So, moving on to our next question, we have B coming out of Virginia. And this question is,
hey Powerheads, this is your boy Brian. Now that Ricky has gotten chapstick with both Lauren and Diana, how long do you think he can hold off Lauren? And does he really want to? And question number 2, do you think Kane will ever put it together that GTG boys switched on him?
oh, so B thought this was a 2-for-1, a BOGO sale. Buy one, get one free. So he wants 2 questions answered. So the first one is the chapstick question. I kind of like that. It's a nice little play on words for getting some slob or, you know, kissing up on 2 different females. And that's what's going on with Tariq and Lauren, and Tariq and Diana. So between the 2 of them, you can't really tell who he likes better because it's 2 different sides of the same fence. With Diana, you know, he definitely needs to make money. He needs to be part of the family connection. He needs to get Tasha out of jail. And he can't do that without making major cake. And Diana is the cue into that. Plus, she's a cutie. So, you know, he probably likes her for that reason too. But there's so much danger involved with that. Now, on the other hand, we have Lauren. No danger involved with that, but at the same time, her situation is that's the environment that Tariq was raised in and the environment that Ghost wanted him to be raised in and matriculated. And while that's going on, you gotta look at the situation like, okay, well, this is my dream princess. She's pretty, she's intelligent and all this, and we could build together, but does he really have feelings for her? And that's where it all lies. That's what's gonna make the determination of which person he chooses. And he better choose appropriately because either way, he's not gonna be in a good situation if he chooses one or the other. And he's gotta choose. Second question from Brian, go on that BOGO sale once again. When is Kane gonna figure it out? All right, we all know that he staged the robbery and he got the GTG gang involved in it. And we all know that the only reason why anybody got busted is the dude with the GTG tattoo on his hand, let that be seen by the son of the preacher. So you can't do anything like that. You can't do robberies with exposing tats. So we all know that GTG got picked up. Then all of a sudden, Kane is identified as being at the scene of the robbery. So let's put 2 and 2 together. Like B already has, Brian has tackled this one. He's telling us that basically GTG ratted on him. Ratted on Kane. So what's he gonna do about it? When is he gonna figure it out? Is he smart enough to figure it out? Is somebody else gonna figure it out for him? That's why we watch Power. So, or Ghost Book 2 rather. You know, gotta switch it up nowadays. I guess we'll see you next week. And thanks a lot for tuning in. 1.
You talking to you with your mouth full? I don't know what's going on.
Sorry, I made some arroz con gandules, so it's pretty good.
Okay. All right, Chef B. So, babe, was he forthcoming on what he really did when he first talked to Monet?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
And, okay, so B, was he forthcoming? Was Lorenzo forthcoming when Monet first questioned him about what really went down at the prison?
Okay, somebody else may want to answer that question.
Stop drinking. All right, so.
I got you.
All right, so E, was she really forthcoming about, now I'm all wobble. So E, yeah, and I didn't even have nothing yet. So, well, that's a lie. But, so E,